Computer games have come an awful long way in the last 40 years, from the likes of Asteroid and Pac-Man to the eSports ecosystem of today. But now it's a multi-billion-dollar industry with millions of players around the world, and that's why brands are getting so interested.
Gaming as a whole is estimated being about 2.1 billion gamers worldwide, and that's everyone who engages in mobile games to consoles to PC gaming. If you look at eSports specifically, so really the enthusiast side of competitive gaming, figures usually around the 400 million mark as a global audience. That is tens of billions of dollars. It's parallel to Hollywood movies, to music industry as a whole. It's one of the biggest entertainment mediums in the world.
That growth is down to the internet. It allowed gamers across the world to play each other. And then smartphones came along, which allowed powerful games to be played on the move. The growth in gaming has been explosive. Esports alone is estimated to be worth over $100 billion. Paying for the initial game is just the start. There's paid for downloadable content and advertising revenue. Mobile gaming has opened up the freemium model, where the game is free, but microtransactions pay for more features in the game. But the rise of gaming has led to the rise of an entire ecosystem around the game itself. People watching people play games. Really?
So let's see how I do. We can see my awesome hero over here, and we can move around, and let's go ahead and shop real quick. I'm gonna go ahead and take mid solo just so they know. And
why does anyone watch 22 men kick a ball around for 90 minutes? If you put it to its simplest parts, it doesn't have an appeal. When you think of the audience of people who watch football players or some of certain daytime TV, it's no different to anything else. It's people who've got a passion that share it with their audience.
The guy in the lead there actually pulling away ever so slightly, but this is the beauty of iRacing. It's a longer race.
Suddenly you're getting a lot of viewers there who are wanting to interact, and with the nature of live streaming and the direct-to-fan engagement, you get very long dwell times, which is great for advertisers, great for sponsors, but also great for the content creators and the influencers themselves.
And actually making money out of gaming comes in many forms.
Monetization comes in two ways. You've got the direct monetization as the content creator, where you maybe go to brands to run branded content, special campaigns, promotional series, which again is interesting because of the audience you've got. Otherwise, you've got the platforms. So the platforms are monetizing it, such as Ding It ourselves, YouTube, Twitch, where actually it's just the size of audience. Advertisers want to get in front of that audience. And then lastly, you've got the game developers, that if people are playing your games, watching people play their games, they want to copy what people that they've watched are doing. They might need to buy the in-game items, they might need to buy the new DLC, the new version of the game, to be able to keep up with the stars and the people that they're watching.
So where's the appeal?
Gaming on a platform such as YouTube, so videos around game content, is their second biggest vertical in types of genre. There's a huge audience for it, so you've got all that ad revenue. You've then also got direct sponsorships from brands coming into players, into teams, into content creators. But then you also have the fans themselves buying team jerseys, buying tickets to see events in big stadiums, just in the same way as they would with traditional sports, football, basketball, anything.
League of Legends is one game where live events have seen enormous growth.
If you go back to their first season of World Championships, the finals were held in what was effectively a large hall, and they had a decent online audience, but nothing huge. If you go to just 4 years after that, they filled out the Seoul Olympic Stadium for a live audience of 40,000 and had tens of millions of people watch online. So that scale of growth in 4 years is pretty much unprecedented. You've also then got brands really looking at why is that demographic important, and a lot of that's the stereotypes that have been broken. So very much so, if you go back 10, 15 years, your traditional person would think a gamer is a teenager living at home, low disposable income. Why would you want to advertise to them as a brand? Whereas the current day figures actually show that's a very different audience. In gaming in general, it's much more gender balanced than a lot of people would expect, but also the age demographic is quite a lot higher than people would expect. Within enthusiast industries like esports, you've actually got a very, very appealing demographic to brands. Firstly, millennials, who are very difficult to reach for advertisers and brands as a start. They're cord cutters, they ad block, etc. But also the fact that they are very high disposable income individuals. So if you look, something 30% plus of the esports audience is in a high income demographic, so above $70,000 annual income. But they're also still young. They're in the 18 to 35 demographic, so that income, while very high, is also very disposable. They're college educated, and all that paints a beautiful pictures for brands that actually these are people with money to spend and want to spend it, and actually have some of the biggest buying power going.
And brands are also finding the world of gaming interesting because the return on investment is very trackable.
There's really two ways. You've got direct attribution, which is the same as anything else. The one advantage of esports is a lot of it's online. So social media plays a massive piece, so affiliate links, tracking, all of the modern day data of marketing really comes into that well, and you can clearly see where those returns come. Likewise, if you're title sponsoring things, you can get key performance indicators such as hashtags on Twitter, or just general sentiment, number of viewers, etc. Outside of that though, you've also got general brand appeal. So there's some really big things being done by some of the automotive people. If you look at Audi, for example, they sponsored a very large team based in Europe, and that got them a lot of press as a head sponsor. While there obviously would have been key performance indicators in that campaign, it's not directly linking the sales. They're able to gain access to this market that's hard to reach in a way that's very authentic. And actually for a large mainstream brand, for a lot less investment than a similar piece in, say, football or NBA.
But there's a warning for brands hoping to tap into this potentially lucrative market.
The audience itself, while it's a very affluent market, it's very difficult to reach them, especially just in day-to-day terms. It's why brands want to get involved, but it also means they're exceptionally tuned into what is an advertisement, why are they advertising to us, and in what way. So actually trying to force your way as a brand into this space and into these communities is very challenging, because just as it's a very high growth market as a whole, when you look at where it's come from, a lot of these projects and some of the biggest teams, some of the biggest portals for really viewing content and for engagement with this content were founded as passion projects. They were quite often university students would set it up in their spare time, put a website up. These sites suddenly have tens of millions, hundreds of millions of views every month, and these big ad deals, but those communities are still there for the same reason. They're passionate about the teams, the players, the game, and actually they're very protective over that, especially if outside entities come in and are trying to monopolize on it or trying to leverage it in a way that isn't adding value.
If that wasn't off-putting, brand safety is an issue too.
While these content creators can very quickly build up huge communities of followers, they're often no filter. It's the Snapchat generation.
You know, it's quite ironic. She on the wall? What a she just on my wall?
That they go live and they will say and do what their audience wants. And with endemic gaming brands, and when it was growing as a passion project, that was quite easy to understand, that actually that's what the community was like. But now we've got mainstream brands coming in, we're seeing quite a challenge there, that some of the things that are going out within content aren't considered brand safe. And for mainstream brands, that's something which is a challenge, is that they need their brand advocates to be on message, on point, not doing anything too controversial. But gaming itself can be quite a controversial field.
I'm really sorry if I offended, hurt, or disappointed anyone with all of this.
And that's the community as a whole, that a lot of these games, they have fans, they have followers, just as movies or TV series would. And a challenge for these game developers at the moment is really looking at how can they utilize those communities without disrupting them. Whereas before they were fantastic free marketing, they're revenue generating themselves, and a lot of these larger developers are looking at how to get some of that revenue into their P&L.
Hello, I'm James Wright. Thanks for watching Marketing Media Money. To check out more online videos, just click on the boxes, and don't forget to subscribe to the CNBC Live channel at the bottom of the screen.